true. Uh, when we talk about a Shady Plot, and as far as we understood from the topic of Shady Plot, we talk about John Hallock, who is the narrator in the story, and is a writer known for his what? Known for his ghost stories, right? Largely due to pressure from his publisher. What is his publisher name? Jenkins, right? Who insist on stories about supernatural occurrences. Although John lacks ideas at the beginning of the age or at the beginning of writing, he has always managed to produce stories mysteriously, right? Feeling that ghost stories somehow chose him rather than the other way around. So when Jenkins demands another ghost story, right, John tries to what? Write, but gets distracted by you can say that mundane thoughts, right, about his wife's shopping habits. Mundane thoughts means called as something like irritating thoughts about his wife's shopping habits. Frustrated, he sarcastically talks to himself, who means John, right? Only to be surprised by a ghostly figure, a woman who appears in his room, right? So she reveals what she means referring to the ghost reveals that she and other ghosts have been helping whom? Helping to John for what? Now, helping John to come up with the story ideas, but now refuse to continue. Now, why they refuse to continue? Now, as they are going on, going on,
Strike.
going on strike. The ghost who was a writer in her past life, right? The so she's not the writer. So she was the writer in her past life. So and she laments and she points out that what her unsuccessful writing career and explains her decision to stop supporting writers like John, right? So that's what you would find out, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let's come to the continuation of that story, a Shady Plot. Now, uh, then we find out I found others who had suffered similarly, and between us, we organized the Writers' Inspiration Bureau, right? We scout around until we find a writer without ideas and with a mind soft enough to accept impression. The case is brought to the attention to the main office, and one of us assigned to it. When that case is finished, we bring in a report, right? Now, here you would find out that what means uh, who is she here? We talk about the ghost, the ghost along other ghosts, right, who had suffered similarly in their previous lives, uh, and they had formed a writer's inspiration bureau. So, and what is that purpose for? The Writers in Inspiration Bureau to help people who were stuck up in similar situation. They looked out for writers who did not have any ideas for a story, but had a flexible mind, right, which could be easily influenced. So, in such cases, were brought up in bureau and assigned to a ghost. The ghost would submit a report, right? Once the case was closed, once the writer had been successfully held with a story, isn't it? So here you would find out the phrase is called as a scout around. We scout around until we find a writer. So what do you mean by that? Now we talk about scout around is called as a, means we refer to the ghost, right? Who goes to or who go to look in various places for something they want, right? So in the particular matter, isn't it? Yes, sir. But I never saw you before. So the ghost, she said that she never saw the writer before or the narrator before, and you would not have this time if I had not come to announce the strike. Many a time I have leaned on your shoulder when you have thought you were thinking hard. I groaned. I clutched my hair. The very idea is that horrible scarecrow so much as touching me, and would not my wife be shocked? I shivered, but she continued, that is an end. We have been called out of our beds a little too often in recent years, and now we are through, right? So if you talk about that, John says that he had not seen the ghost earlier. The ghost says that yes, she made herself visible to John as she had to inform, isn't it? She pointed that what means many a time she had leaned on on his shoulder, right? When you have thought you were thinking hard. So the ghost says that what she made herself visible to John as she had to inform him about the strike. John cried. Yes. You want to say something? No, no, sir. Mm. So John cries and pulls his hair, right? So when he comes to know that the ghost leaned on him and even touched him when he thought that he was thinking hard or difficult about an idea. So he is reminded of his wife, who would be shocked to that know this truth that he got the ideas of the ghost stories from ghosts. The ghost says that they have been called out of their graves very frequently, and so now they are on strike. So after that, you would find out who. Um, Here you can see that the word which is stated, no, that's an end. We have been called out of our beds. The meaning of beds is called as a grave, right? So grave, you understand? So
Yes, sir.
graves are little too often in recent years. And when you talk about the word called as a scarecrow, so it refers to a resembling to a man, a human figure, right? So, and here after that, the author stated, or the narrator stated, but my dear madam, I assure you, I have had nothing to do with that. I hope I'm properly grateful I'm properly grateful and all that, you see. Oh, it is not you, she explained patronizingly. It's those Ouija board fanatics. So, when you talk about Ouija board fanatics, it means it refers to the person who is extremely passionate about something. Right. Now, what do you mean by Ouija board? The meaning of Ouija board is called as a device that is used to communicate with the ghost. A board on which means you can say that alphabet letters are written and answer to questions are spelled out by a pointer of glass. So, using the fingertips of the participant, and that supposedly you can say that formed by spiritual forces. So, here also you would find out that. When the narrator said that, but my dear madam, right, I assure you, I have had nothing to do with that. So John apologizes for the inconvenience to her and them and says that he had not intended to bother them, right? I hope I'm properly grateful, all that, you see. So, um, and then after the ghost said that it is not she explained patronizingly or in a very, you can say that in not an impotent manner, said that it is those Ouija board fanatics. Ouija board fanatics means that called as a people.
Extremely passionate Ouija board users.
Yes. So there was a time when we had nothing much to occupy us and we used to hunt a little on the side, purely for amusement, but not anymore. We have had to give up hunting almost entirely. We sit at a desk and answer questions now, right? And such questions. She shook her head hopelessly and taking off her glasses, wiped them and put them back on her nose again. So you would find out that she says that it is not him, but the people who use Aujabot to call them and seek answers to their question. They are called so often that they do not get any time for recreational activities. Who? The ghost. The ghost do not get the recreational. Means recreational means what? That's something called as uh, uh, spending their time, free time, so they want to enjoy. So, and their recreational activities like what? Scaring people for fun. All the time they have to sit on a desk and answer questions, which gets irritating. She says that people ask such silly questions. Now, did you see that it is called as a humorous? Why humorous? Now, because when the ghost says that what, now they did not get the free time because of these people who use the house boat and call them and seek answers all the time. So they do not get the recreational activities. And what kind of recreational activities? Now, scaring people for fun, right? So, but what have I got to do with that? But what have I got to do with that? She gave me a pitying look and Rose. So, you are to exert your influence, get all your friends and acquaintances to stop using the audiobook, and then we will start helping you to write. But so you can see that John wonders, and what does he have to do with the kind of a problem? It is stated that, but what have I got to do with this? Right. So John said that if he did not make any kind of a problem, then how or what does he have to do with this problem of the ghost, as he has never bothered them in such a way? Right. So the ghost pitied means what? She gave me a fleeting look. So the narrator said that what? The ghost gave him or in a pitying. Pitying means called as a sad face. Right. So in that case, it asked John to convince his friends. Right. You are to exhort. Exhort means called as a, you can say that you have to convince your friends and
Acquaintances.
acquaintances not to use the ouija board, and only then they would or only then would they help him with his stories. So there was a footstep outside his door. Right? Whose door? Means the narrator's door. And it was who? John's wife. John, oh John, called the voice of my wife. I waved my arms at the ghost with something of the motion of a beginner when learning to swim. So, madam, I must ask you to leave at once. I thought to demobilize and evaporate. First, the brogans on her feet grew misty until I could see the floor through them. Then the affection spread to her knees and gradually extended upward. By this time, my wife was opening the door. Don't forget the strike, she repeated. Who? Helen. Helen repeated, while her lower jaw began to disintegrate. So, and as my Lavinia, and as my Lavinia crashed the room to me, the last vestige of her year faded into space. John, why in the world are you sitting in the dark? Who said that? His wife said. Right. Now, if you see
Called
that
vestige.
vestige means called as to mark or to identify, right? Identify or to see, right? Let's talk about that. Upon, hear, upon hearing his wife's footstep, upon hearing his wife's footstep and her call, so John immediately means got panicked. Panicked means afraid of it. And what did he do? Now he waved his hands frantically, right? So just like a person who is learning swimming, who moves his hands out of the water as he fears drowning. Drowning means he was going to die, so he felt the kind of a fear, and he signaled and requested the ghost to disappear. So, means why? Because the ghost is the Helen, the omen, and you know that the omen also finds jealousy to see another omen. So, therefore, uh, means the narrator signaled and requested Helen, the ghost, to disappear. Right? The ghost was very obedient, and also you can say that the ghost was dutiful and obedient. So And what did happen? She disappeared. She disappeared gradually in parts just as she had arrived. First, the shoes became unclear. So it seems like what one after another part of the body. So what's disappeared, and gradually the transparency rose upward to her knees. Just then his wife opened the door. The ghost once again reminded him so of the strike, and the same time her lower jaw started to dissolve. Dissolve means what? Disappear. As his wife Lavinia, so John's wife Lavinia walked up to him. The last mark of the ghost year faded. Please do understand means what are the things step by step they got disappear. Lavinia asked John that why he's sitting in this darkness, right? So in that case, means you would find out, the author said, just thinking, my dear, thinking, Ravish, you were talking out loud. So who said that? Lavinia said to whom? John. I remained silent while she lit the lamps, thankful that her back was turned to me. When I am nervous or excited, there is a muscle in my face that starts to twitch, and this pulls up the corner of my mouth and gives the appearance of an idiotic grin. So far, I had managed to reveal this affliction from Lavinia. So, affliction का मतलब क्या? What do you mean by affliction? That's called as a disorder, right? And when you find out that John was nervous, just thinking, my dear, thinking, Ravish, you were talking out loud. So John was nervous. So you would find out John's muscles, right? That was in his face started, trembling. Trembling means called as a shaking, which pulled up his face from one side, and it appeared as he was smiling in a stupid way, right? He did not want his wife Lavinia to uh, see him like that, because Lavinia would understand was uh, and was happy that her back was towards him. So till now he had been careful to hide the kind of a problem of his from her, right? So what kind of a problem? That called as a means Helen came to him, right? Helen was the ghost, and how Helen helped him uh, to write a story. I bought the loveliest thing this afternoon. Everybody is wild over them, right? I remembered her craze for taking up new fads, and premonitory chill crept up the back of my neck, right? So when you talk about premonitory chill, I bought the loveliest thing this afternoon. So, Lavinia, here we know that what kind of a woman she is. So, Lavinia tells him excitedly that she had bought the loveliest thing, which was the latest trend or fashion, you can say that, right? And everyone was crazy for it. So when she said that, I remembered her craze for taking of new fads. New fads means new fashion. And a premonitory chill crept up. So premonitory chill means called as a pre means before. So and premonitory means called as a prior warning. Prior warning, chill crept up the back of my neck. Chill crept up the back of my neck. Neck is what? Approach slowly and making a surprise. So in that case, the author stated that, or the narrator stated, Lavinia tells him that she had bought the loveliest thing, which was the latest trend, and everyone was crazy for it. John knew that she had a craze for trying every new fashion, and her words are like a, prior warning, as he feared that the latest fashion about which she was taking, uh, or she was talking, is nothing but house aboard. So now you would find out that it is not. I began and I stopped. Right. Um, yeah. I simply could not ask. The possibility was too horrible. Right. So John had a clue and wanted to ask her if that was what it was. talking about, but he could not continue his question as he feared the worst if she gave a positive reply. Who? Lavinia. So you would never guess in the world, right? It is the duckiest, darlingest outer board and so cheap. I got it at a bargain sale. Why? What is the matter, John? I felt things sleeping. Now, if you observe that, means here Lavinia, right? So Lavinia's new shopping was what? It was nothing but Aujabo, which she had purchased in a sale in a very, very
cheap price.
cheap price. John was surprised. He felt that the ghost would get anger or angrier as they had ordered him that what to stop his friends and acquaintances from using the house boat. Whereas now, and mm, even his wife had bought one, and he knew that he would be helpless in stopping her from using it. Right. So nothing I said and looked around for the ghost. Suppose he had lingered, and upon hearing what my wife had said, should suddenly appear, like all sensitive women. Lavinia was subject to hysteria. Lavinia was subject to hysteria, which means Lavinia was uncontrolled, right? Uncontrolled behavior, right? Because of fear, because of sadness, all such kind of a thing, right? So
I can't understand this word. Hysterics. Hysterics.
hysterics, the meaning of hysterics is called as a getting uncontrolled, the behavior, right? So what does it say? It says that John replied to Lavinia uh, that he was not thinking of anything. He looked around to see if the ghost was present in the room. Right. He did not say, he replied to her that he was not thinking of anything. Right. He looked around to see if the ghost was present in the room or not. He afraid that if it had means if Helen had heard their conversation, it could appear before them, right? So, and if the Helen appeared before them, what would happen? Now, Lavinia was a sensitive woman, and her reaction would become hysterics. Reaction become would become hysterics means called as uncontrolled. Why? Now, because a woman, if she sees a ghost, how she will react?
Of
How
course.
she will react in a hysterics manner, right? So that is what. So if
Sir, speaking of lingered, I have a few words to ask.
Uh,
That's why.
nothing I said and looked around for a ghost. Suppose she had lingered. Lingered is called as staying in a place for a longer than expected. Right. So that is what nothing I said and looked around for the ghost. Suppose she means that called as Helen. Helen, the ghost, if she had stayed in a place for longer than expected and also heard what his wife was or what the narrator's wife had said, by hearing that she appeared, then what will happen? Right?
Okay.
But you looked so funny. I always do when I am interested. I go. But don't you think that was a foolish thing to buy? Foolish? Oh, John, foolish. And after me getting it for you, for me, what do you mean? So in that case, Lavinia said that what? Comments that, or Lavinia said that his face had a funny look. Whose face had a funny look? Means the narrator.
John.
Uh, he did not want to show his true feelings. You would not have to wear your eyes. Uh, eyes out over those musty. Musty means called as that called as a very old and as well as dirty. In the public library, all you would have to do would be to get out your Auza and talk to Napoleon or William the Conqueror or Helen of Troy, right? Um, so Helen of Troy, well, may not Helen. Anyhow, you would have all the local color you would need. and without a speck of trouble. And think how easy writing your short stories will be now. Now, understand that when Lavinia said that, right, what means the narrator's face is looking funny, and another thing is called as the narrator also did not show his true feelings and replied that what he looked here and there that whether Helen is present or not, right? Um, and he also pointed that he was interested in something, right? He looked like that when he was interested in something, and he wanted to say that means Lavinia's new shopping appeared interesting to him, and he tries to discourage Lavinia from what? From using the ouija board because of what? Because of what? Because of the um, Helen's instruction, and comments that it was nothing but a stupidity of whom? Stupidity of Lavinia to buy such kind of a means object, ouija board. But Lavinia says that but she has bought it for the sake of what? John's help, John's writing stories, and ouija board will help him to write his stories. So in that case, you would find out Lavinia has bought that ouija board for whom? For John, and he need not read books to get ideas. He need not read books to get ideas, means read ghost books to get ideas. All he has to do is nothing but call out the ghost for any historical figure. Historical figure means you can talk about Napoleon William the Conqueror, and Helen of Troy. So these are the historical figure, and they died as they died a long ago. So um, their soul or their ghost, they can be called out, right? And ask questions to know about him and get the idea for a story. So, and she names Helen of Troy, right? But the next moment says that he may not call her as being a woman. So she
This
gets,
shows how sensitive she is.
yeah, she gets jealous at the thought of her husband talking to another woman. So she feels that by talking, you can say that uh, by talking directly to the ghost, he would get first-hand information about their lives, which could be missing in the historical books. So, writing stories this way would become helpful and make them, practical or realistic, you can say. But Lavinia, you surely don't believe in Ouija board. Right. I don't know, John. They are awful thrilling. Right. She had seated herself on the arm of my chair, who, Lavinia, and was looking dreamily across the room. I started and turned around. There was nothing there, and I sank back with relief. So far, so good. Right. Now, John says to Lavinia that what he is sure that she does not believe that the outer board really works. John said, right? Lavinia says that they are very exciting. You are very exciting, outer board, and starts dreaming of using them and chatting with ghosts. So who? Lavinia. John looks around as though he suspects the ghost to be overhearing this conversation, and as he saw nothing around, he saw in his chair with a kind of a relief or relax. Oh, surely they are thrilling, all right. That's just it. They are a damn sight too thrilling. Dan is called as a, they are used to express disappointment, right? They are positive devilish now. Devilish means called as a positively devilish, positively evil, you can say. Now, this is called as a kind of a, means a paradox, positively devilish. Now, Lavinia, you have plenty of sense. I want you to get rid of that things just as soon as you can. Take it back and get something else. My wife crossed her knees and looked at me through narrowed lids. So you would find out that what I mean. So John was means John request a lot. John request a lot to Lavinia that what? Lavinia should get rid of such kind of object. So John says that they are thrilling. In fact, he finds them to be devilish or evil, as their use has aroused the ghost means to call ghost and make them anger, right? He ordered Lavinia to be sensible and exchange that product for something else. Lavinia gets angry at him and looks at him. John Hallett, she said in a uniquely, I don't propose to do anything of the kind. In the first place, they won't exchange things bought at a bargain sale. And in the second, if you are not interested in the other world, I am. If you are not interested in the other world, I am. So there. So she slipped down and walked from the room before I could think of a single thing to say. She walked very, happily. So what do you mean by happily? That called as angrily or annoyed, right? Now, if you look into this, so as he did not want to obey his order, who means Lavinia. So Lavinia says that the boat could not be exchanged, or you can say that as he had purchased it at a bargain sale, and moreover, if he was not, means if the writer was not or narrator was not, so then means Lavinia herself was interested in using that outer boat and wanted to talk to Ghost. So she quickly went out of the room angrily, and but before the narrator could say something. So well, it was like all the rest of the evening. Well, it was like that all the rest of the evening. Just as soon as I mentioned outer boats, I felt things begin to cloud up. So I decided to let it go for the present, in the hope that she might be she might be more reasonable later. After supper, I had another try at the writing, but as my mind continued a perfect blank, I gave it up and went up to bed. Now, if you see that uh, the rest of the day, well, it was like that all the rest of the evening. So the rest of the day passed like that only, right? So the only thought of Aujabot that afraid John, and John felt also that the ghost would reappear or would come out again. So then, so who? Mm, John decided to stop thinking about the Auja board and concentrate on the story which he was writing. He tried to write a story, but he could not think of any idea about the ghost. So he could not think of one of, right, as the ghost who helped him, right? So they were on a strike, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So the next day was Saturday, and it being near the end of the month and a particularly busy day, the narrator said that he left home early without meeting Lavinia. Understand, I have not quite reached the point where I can give my whole time to writing and being bookkeeper for a lumber company. So, does help with the grocery bills and pay for Lavinia's fancy shopping. Friday had been a half holiday, and of course, when I got back, the work was piled up or gathered pretty high. So high, in fact, that ghost and stories and everything else disappeared in a perfect tangle of figures. Right. Now, if you talk about the word, here you can find out the bookkeeper. The meaning of bookkeeper is called as a person who records, financial transaction in business. That is what called as a bookkeeper. And when you talk about lumber is called as somebody who is dealing in wood and timber. So in that case, if you see, the narrator said that the next day was a Saturday and it was the end of the month, right? And which was coming very quickly. It was a busy day for John, who worked as an accountant, right? Who worked as an accountant with a company dealing with what? You can say that dealing, yeah. Mm. You can say that as the day was Saturday and month was coming near, it was very busy for John. So who worked as an accountant with a company where, and that company was doing the business of wood. He left home in a hurry without meeting Lavinia. John could not work full time as a writer as he did not earn well from the profession of a writer. Right. In addition to it, you would also find out John worked as an accountant. Why? Now, because the pay helped him pay the grocery bill. And you can also find out it also helps to fund Lavinia's latest shopping. Friday had been a half day, and so he had a huge load of work gathered up. As his day was very busy, making accounts and doing difficult calculation. He forgot the ghost and ghost stories. So when he got off the streetcar that evening, his mind was still churning. Churning means his mind was still moving with a great force about the uh, means Helen's statement. Uh, the narrator said that he remembered now that he noticed even from the corner how brightly the house was illuminated. But at the time, that did not mean anything to me. I recall as I went up the steps and opened the door, I murmured. Murmured means called as a slowly spoken. 9 times 9 is 81. Right. So in that case, John reached home, but his mind was still full of the day's work. And he did not notice till he reached closer that their house was full of bright light. He did not have any clue as to what was happening, so he slowly spoke in something as he opened the door, wishing all to be well with Lavinia and the ghost. Right. So, and then what happened? Gladolia, right? Gladolia met me in the hall. So, who is Gladolia? And what did he say? So, Mr. Hallock, Mr. It is written Misto, Mr. Hallock, they
Yes,
Mrs.
sir. I also read it. That was like really complicated to read. I can't understand it.
Which one you didn't understand?
I think she's Bengali.
No, no, no. Mr. Hallock. So English is not the only language which is means, spoken all over the world, right? There are also other languages like French, Spanish, isn't it? So
Yes, sir.
only Indians don't speak English, and and only America means also only America people don't speak English. It's also French, Spain, so they also speak English, and while they speak English, so they use some kind of a French language or Spanish language in between speaking the language, English language. Okay, so here also you would find out. And then Gladolia met me in the hall. Mr. Haller, the Mrs. Short, the Mrs. Short thinks you are lost, right?
Huh?
Your Mrs. think you are lost,
Okay.
right? Or you can say that. Uh, so if you talk about that, Gladolia is a Mexican woman. Fine. Then Gladolia met me in the hall. Gladolia is a Mexican woman. So uh, you would find out that she was the housemaid. Who was the housemaid? Gladolia is the housemaid. So who met John and informed him that Lavinia had called his office during the day. So that is why here it is stated, Mr. Hallock, the missus should thinks you are lost. She said she done phone you this morning to be home early, but for the Lord's sake, but for the Lord's sake, not to shop to, not to stop to argufy now, but get ready for the company and come on down. Right. Now, some memory. So, did you understand that here means Gladolia is a Mexican woman who was the housemaid, met John and informed John that what? Now, Lavinia had called his office in the morning time, right? Or you can say during the day, but could not get enough. and thought that he was lost in his work. So, means Lavinia thought that Mr. Hallock was lost in his work. She had um, asked, she had asked what? She had asked not to argue and get ready for the company, right? So, some memory of a
Which
message some memory of a message given me by one of the clerks filter back through my brain. But I had been hunting three lost receipts at the time, and I had completely forgotten it. Company, I said stupidly. What company? The Mrs. Board party, Gladolia said, and rolling her eyes, she disappeared in the direction of the kitchen. So you would find out that uh, means Mr. John wife called him and found that what Mr. John was lost in his work. So she also requested or asked not to argue and get ready for the company, right? So it means she invited John to participate in the company. Now, what kind of a company? John recollected that one of the clerks at the office had given him a message, but as he had been searching for some important receipts. He had forgotten all about it till now. He asked Gladulia what was the company to, which she replied that Lavinia had organized an Auja board party at their home. She said this and went to the kitchen. Now, in that case, what happened? Now it becomes a kind of a headache for the John, right? So I must have gone upstairs and dressed and come down again, for I presently found myself standing in the dimly lighted lower hall, wearing my second best suit and a fresh shirt and collar. But I have no recollections of the process. There was a great chattering coming from our little parlor, and I went over to the half open door and looked through. Right. So here you would find out that I must have gone upstairs and dressed and come down again. John was confused and he walked absent-mindedly and he did not know when you can say that when he went and he changed his suit and he came for the party. So which party? So that's called as the Auja board party. So lot of noise was coming for the small room where the party was going on, and he looked inside. Right, the room was full of women, most of them elderly, and whom the narrator recognized as belonging to his wife's book club. His wife's book club. So his wife's book club, they were sitting in couples, and between each couple was a Auja board. Right.
uh,
Yes.
uh,
The mournful squeak of the legs, mournful squeak means called as a sound made by the table of the you can say that moving triangular things on which they rested their fingers, filled the air and mixed in with the conversation. Right. I looked around for the ghost with my heart sunk down to zero. What if Lavinia should see her and go mad before my eyes? And then my wife came and tapped me on shoulder. Now, if you observe that word, Lavinia and her friends from the book club were having an Ouija board party, right? Um, and the strange sound of the table mixed with the noise of the talking woman made John uncomfortable. He looked around to see if the ghost was present here or not. So, and if the ghost was present there, he feared the appearance of Lavinia, right? So uh, going mad to see a ghost in the house. Lavinia would definitely shivered. Lavinia came to him and knocked on his shoulder. So while the narrator was thinking about it, so at the same time Lavinia came and knocked on his shoulder. Knocked on his shoulder means and call him. John, she said in her sweetest voice. And I noticed that her cheeks were very pink and her eyes were very bright. My wife is never so pretty as when she is doing something she knows. I disapprove of. John, dear, I know you will help us out. Mrs. William August Wainwright phoned at the last moment to say that she could not possibly come. Right. Now, the number of people who are necessary for the Aujapo, right? Out of that, one is absent. And that's why means Mr. John would replace that person. And that is why Mr. William Augustus Wainwright phoned at the last moment to say that she could not possibly come. And that leaves poor Laura Hinkle without a partner. So Laura Hinkle did not have the partner. So now, John, I know some people can work Auja by themselves, but Laura can't. She will just have a horrible time unless you, right? Unless you means unless you participate or unless you help me, right? So John feels that Lavinia does what? Lavinia looks bright and pretty. She doesn't look regularly as she is doing something against her husband's wish, right? Her husband doesn't want that Lavinia should not make a house aboard party, but she does it and she feels happy for that. So she speaks in her sweet voice with a smile that what she wants John to partner with whom? Partner John to partner Laura Hinkle at the House of Hope.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, I thought means our Lavinia was a sensitive girl. So how was she approving this? Means she was the one who asked for it. So how? Why? Can't understand.
Why, how, what you asked? I didn't get that, or your question also.
Till my voice was low. Yes, sir. Sir, I am asking that I thought, and as the story said, that Lavinia was a sensitive lady or woman, sensitive woman. So, how was she approving her husband to play Ouija board with Laura Henkel? She was, I think, she was also a woman.
Yeah, but
She was a
but at the same time, the time demands what? The time demands that she engaged with whom? She engaged with all the other friends of her, right?
yes,
She was doing what? Ouija board party, right?
yes,
She was going against her husband's wish when her husband said that she did not like Ouija board, right? So by doing everything, so means she found out that her plan would not get succeed. Her plan would not get succeed if all the members would not present. So what happened? She found out Mrs. William August Wainwright was absent. If she was absent, then one can do the job. But Laura Hinkle was the kind of a woman who could not do the kind of a job that was demanded for, right? So therefore, she requested her, as the time demands, so she requested her husband to partner Laura Hinkle, right? So that the plan could go on, right? It's not like she is sensitive. She is sensitive of what? She is sensitive of means not allowing her husband to means not want to see her husband to any other woman. But the thing is what? But the thing is, if the time demands, so in that case, what she will do? And she is not means she knows Laura Hinkle, she knows William August Wainwright, and they are like a means they're like good friends to her, good friends to the family of John. So that's why there is no harm, right? But meeting John with any other unknown stranger woman would definitely create a doubt to means whom? Create a doubt to Lavinia. So that
I
is why.
understand.
John feels that Lavinia looks bright and pretty as she is doing something against her husband's wish. She speaks in a sweet voice with a smile. She wants John to partner Laura Hinkle at the outer board as her partner William August Wainwright had backed out at the last minute and she could not handle the outer board all by herself. So the narrator got gassed. Gassed means what? That's something called as a surprise. Me? I won't. But even as I spoke, she had taken my arm, and the next thing I knew, I was sitting with the thing on my knees and Miss Laura Hinkle opposite. So, and white smile in my face like a flirtatious crocodile. What do you mean by flirtatious crocodile? So, it's something called as a kind of a behavior as if attracted to someone, right? Like a flatulous crocodile. So you would find out that John did not want to, but John opposed many a time Lavinia's wish, as he dreaded the ghost anger. He did not want to make the ghost anger. He was forced, and he found Laura to be giving him a fake, broad smile, as if she was attracted towards him. Right. So I won't. I begin. Now, Mr. Hallock, don't you be shy. Miss Laura Hinkle leaned forward and shook a bony finger. Bony means called as a very thin finger, almost under my chin. Right? So, John here what? Stopped, but Laura came towards him and put her fingers under his chin, right, in an attempt to make him feel uncomfortable. Still, John tried to pull himself away, means he did not want to take a part of it. Uh, no, it's very easy, really. You just put the tips of your fingers right here beside the tips of my finger. So Laura just helped him to understand what he's supposed to do, what he shall not, right? And the first thing I knew, she had taken my hands and was coyly holding them in the position desired. Coyly means what? That's something like a girl flirting to the boy, right? Flirted us, but pretending to be shy. Uh, so I knew she had taken my hands and was coyly, in a flirting manner, right? In the position desired. She released them presently, right? So, and the little boat began to slide around, right? So slide around in an aimlessly sort of way. There seemed to be some force tugging it about. I looked to my partner. First with suspicion and then such a vast relief. If she was doing it, then all that talk about spirits. Oh, I did. Hope Miss Laura Hinkle was cheating with that board, right? So you would find out that before he knew, she had taken his hand and kept it on the board as per the outer board direction. Just then the board started to, slide. John desired that it was Laura who was cheating and moving it rather than a real ghost. So that's what John thought, right? So, Auda dear, won't you tell us something? She could, and on the instant the thing seemed to take life, right? So Laura immediately replied, the outer boat, to speak up, and the boat seemed to be full of life as it, shaked at a fast pace.
What is the meaning of food?
Could means spoke softly, right? He said, no, outer dear, you won't tell us something. So the line she pointed, she spoke in a very soft manner. Right. It rushed to the upper left-hand corner of the board and hovered with its front leg on the wall. Yes, right. Then it began to fly around so fast that I gave up any attempt to follow it. My companion was bending forward and had started to spell out loud. Traitor. My companion was bending forward and had started to spell out loud. Traitor. Right. So forward means what? That called to move around something, right? So and traitor means what? That's called as when you betray somebody. So the outer board move around the word. Yes. Yes for what? Now yes for when Laura said that means the whether the outer board help them or not. The outer board said yes. Then it started moving around and John, who disliked word games, gave up following it. Gave up following it means quit it. Laura followed it and spelled Laura followed it and spelled the word traitor. So why? What does she mean? I don't know. I said desperately. My collar felt very tight. but she must mean something. Auja, dear, won't you explain yourself more fully? So the Auja board is stated that what? Traitor, Traitor, right? Ask him, who Auja? I'm going. I choked and I'm going. So who said that? John said. I choked and tried to get up, but my fingers seemed stuck to that dreadful board, and I dropped back again. So Laura did not understand what the board meant by spelling the word traitor and asked John, who denied having any clue it. So she asked the board to explain in detail that who was a traitor and why it is written traitor. And the board also pointed towards John. John choked or unable to breathe as he became uneasy, uncomfortable. He tried to leave, but his fingers were just stuck to the board. He fell back on the chair. So apparently, Miss Inkle had not heard my protest. So, means whose protest? That's something called as a uh, John's protest. The thing was going around faster than ever, and she was reading the message silently with her brow corrugated. Brow corrugated means that the brow bent into curves, right, in a different shape, faster than ever, and she was reading the message silently with her brow corrugated and the light of the huntress in her pale blue eyes. Right. So, light of the huntress in her pale blue eyes. It's indicating that what her light blue colored eyes were shining with excitement like those of a huntress. So,
Who?
Miss Hinkle, right? Uh, so Laura
Sir,
was
why do I have a feeling that Helen is the ghost whom this and
might be. Let's see that. What does it say? Apparently, Miss Hinkle had not heard my protest. The thing was going around faster than ever, and she was reading the message silently. Right. She means here it refers to Miss Hinkle with her brow corrugated and the light of the hauntress in her play blue eyes. So something was coming out. Right. Let's say that somebody who have a uh, kind of a soul hovered in her body. So how does she appear? Right. So, similar to that, Laura was not aware of John's reaction as she was busy following the Ouija board. So, now you understood that Laura was means what? Following the Ouija board. It means Laura was hovered with someone. Her eyebrows were curved. Whose eyebrows were curved? Laura Hinkle.
uh,
And her eyes were shining as she concentrated on following the board, which moved around at a faster pace. It's going to 752. Oh, okay. I think it's a very long one, no?
um, yes, actually.
It's a big one. Okay. Mark a note of it. Right.
And yes, mark it down.
I need to rush for college.